Gentlemen, lovely. Thank you. Thank you, Holly, for that introduction. Great to see so many people here. Yes, my name is Aurore Belfrage, and I have the honor of moderating this conversation. We have a little half an hour to talk about one of my favorite topics, creative growth strategies. And I've recently done the transition from entrepreneur to investor, and it's shocking the amount of pitches and companies you see that haven't thought about growth. There's a slide in the pitch deck that says sales, and there's another slide in the pitch deck that says marketing, but it's not really built out, and it's not really tangible, and they haven't really thought about what that means. So I thought we would hear from 3 experts. The Next Web has had a competition around Europe, Tech 5. You're 3 of the 5. And these are the winners in Sweden, France, and Germany. So I thought we'd start with a bit of presentation of who you are and the companies that you've built, and then let's dive into the nitty-gritty. Carl, as a fellow Swede,
yeah.
And furthest away, I'll give you the honor to start.
All right. Oh, so I'm Carl Anderson, and I run a company called Matsmart. I thought I would have my slide, but we'll do that later, right? So we are an online store selling surplus food with up to 90% discount, and we deliver by postal services. So what we buy is as you can see up here, we actually think that it's the inside that actually matters. So we don't care about kind of heart-shaped lemons or kind of 2 days old pasta or something like that. We actually take those problems that the suppliers has, we put it on our website, and we sell them to private households. Yeah, so that's pretty much what we do. Would you like me to continue from there? Or?
I mean, I'm sure you could talk about it forever, so we'll pause you there.
But I could talk a bit about my slide, if you like.
No, let's wait a second, and we'll do the rounds properly. Nicolas, please, the winner of France.
Hi, everyone. I'm from France. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Misterfly. It's an online travel platform that aggregates, compares, enables to books travel components. And you know, it's a very mature, very highly competitive field, online travel, namely. And so we built up a strategy right from the start as we talked to how can we penetrate this market, considering that it's both mature and very highly competitive, huge cost of acquisitions. And so we'll probably talk about it later, is how we address this right from the start so as to be able to penetrate this market and not just, hoping that sales would just come on the sales slide.
Thank you. Nikolai? You're Dane in Germany.
I am.
Yeah.
It works out quite well.
Does it?
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay.
And the business you've built?
I wanted to make something that enables people to do something they couldn't do before. And in that pursuit, we're creating tiny computers that reside in your body. The first place we're putting something is what's called an audible contextual computer, because no one knows what that is. We call them headphones. But they're really tiny computers that sit in your ears. They have 27 sensors. They have embedded storage. You can use them for listening to music, tracking what you do while you swim, run, bike, and communication. Now, this sounds easy. 2 days ago, we announced that we have a translator in the ear. So it's an application that runs with our ear computer. And with that, you can translate into and from 40 different languages. So I can put this in my ear, and on the phone, it comes out in different language. So that's one of the applications. So we're doing like Star Trek stuff.
Yay. Not everyone can say that. I mean, everyone can say that, but not everyone can do that. OK, so we've got 3 relatively different businesses here. And the common thread and the component that you as co-founders have is how I'm going to take my idea and make a big business out of it. And this is the big word, growth. I love our startup ecosystem where we have buzzwords galore to drive us crazy. But growth is actually one of them that is a bit more useful. It would be great to hear your thoughts on what does growth mean for you, and how has it changed through the transition of your business, and how have you enabled it? How have you created your growth? Carl?
Hey, we see growth more as a drug.
A drug?
Yeah. I mean,
someone can tweet that. Yeah. Growth as a drug.
No, but I mean, as soon as you kind of experience it and you try it out, I mean, you can't be
On
out
the
of
low,
it.
when the growth stops,
Exactly,
it's
something like that.
awful.
It's like Pandora's or whatever.
Yeah. And the evil investor
Yeah,
comes. Yeah.
exactly, you guys. No, but we see it, I mean, you're constantly dependent on it. And if you want to be kind of doing event and visit you guys, that's the first thing you ask. I mean, how are you growing? How did you do last year? How many percentage, this and that? So this is, I mean, if we don't exceed yesterday's sales, we're kind of devastated. If we don't exceed the monthly sales goals, we kind of cry our way to the office. And we're constantly kind of pissed not selling more than we actually are doing.
Yeah.
But of course, this is the truth. But perhaps I could tell it more like, I mean, this is something we work with every day. We try out different things. Everybody kind of, if we run into something and say, hey, this won't work, we kind of turn it around and say, how could we make it work if it should be able to work?
Okay, so it's a lovely sentence to say. We tried something, it didn't work, how do we make it work? What's interesting is, how does that translate into something operational? What does that look like?
I mean, very kind of, what does it look like? I mean, if someone says, we can't deliver 20 kilos of boxes into Norway because we're being charged by customs, we say, hey, there must be a way. We have to kind of go through this. Because then, otherwise, we're going to flat out and not kind of growing anymore. So then we just we take a step back and we kind of look at it, and perhaps we could, instead of shipping these guys all the way in there, perhaps we could just leave them at the border and they could pick it up. Yeah, we try that, and so it goes. So we're kind of a learning organization, I would say. And the word "it won't work" doesn't exist.
It's a good cliche.
Yeah.
But it's true. You have to have that as a mantra.
But we actually do, and we have another saying, and that we say that being naive is an asset. So saying, I mean, why shouldn't it work? Why shouldn't this be possible? And not seeing all these obstacles. We just spoke about it just entering the stage. I mean, instead of seeing all these obstacles, we're kind of looking on the possibilities. And I think it has a lot to do with the culture of the company. And this is something we talk about all the time. And it's really important for the structure of us.
And Nicola, what does that mean in your organization? Because we were talking off stage about another of the buzzwords in the industry, iterative organization. Mm-hmm. And how does one recruit and build teams and find the people that can actually implement iterative?
Well, there are different ways. The first thing that we did to attract talent, or the people we thought would be good for organization, is give them out a big chunk of the equity of the company. So my partner and I, we gave out 48% of the equity stake of the company to our started workers. So that, for this, you attract people. Today, people want to work in very soft organizations, open organizations.
What does soft organizations
mean?
Well,
I mean, open, we're not checking the hours they do. I mean, the guys in today's world, you work from home, you work at any time of day. So giving people the proper space to develop their skills and to be happy at work, because happy at work, we spend a lot of times at work, we have pleasure as one of our values, but you can't just impose pleasure. You know, people have to take this pleasure. And part of the pleasure is feeling it easy at the office, not having somebody checking that you've been here exactly at 9:01 and the rest. So it's a lot of things. We have open space, cafeteria, modern, and we sort of don't really control people. And equity is also, people want to be part of the success. You know, it's not just a two-man or a one-man or a three-man success story. It's built by all the guys and all our employees who do the work on an everyday basis. So get them implicated into the business and feel part of the story, and then you have so much less management to do. So that's part of the key of success.
The key to success is management having less to do. I like
exactly,
that. Yeah. It's something very twisted, but very true.
But then we spend time on strategy and not on the less value-added stuff.
Yeah, clearly. But you are in a sales process. At some point, you need to convince, and usually there's an emotional component in that. convince your customer to take a bet or take a leap or pay you for the product that you've created. How have you thought about the problem that you're solving, but from an emotional trigger point of view? Nikolai?
Well, first of all, I look at myself. That's the first part. It's not a pretty sight, but it's what I do. And I look at what makes me make Bragi. I made Bragi because I had a personal experience that made it very important for me to enable people, to make them capable of doing things they couldn't do before.
Would you like to share?
It's personal. Okay, I'll do that.
No, this is a free stage. You know, it's a pass.
It's okay. My sister died from sclerosis 2 years ago, and I didn't think that helping her or anyone else is just a matter of medicine. I was seeing how hearing aids enable people that couldn't hear to participate in life from a social, cultural, and financial perspective. And I wanted to make a tool rather than a drug that could help people, not just the ones who were disabled, but all of us. My sister said at the time that, you know, my perspective is shorter than yours, but you'll die too. So it's a matter of perspective, and I wanted to make something that helps everyone. And that's, I don't care too much about growth, I care about impact.
But they go hand in hand.
Well, it comes, you know, when you create impact, you create growth.
Yeah.
Growth is just a mechanism to have impact. Growth is just numbers. When you lie at your deathbed when you're getting old, you're not looking at your money, you're looking at the impact you had.
Definitely. And we're back to the question of how do you take your idea into something that is real? And the words you choose, impact, growth, etc., actually doesn't matter that much. It is the realization of your vision that is important, and translating that into a team that helps you do that. How big is your team?
We are 170 people.
Driven by impact?
Well, I think most of the people wouldn't work at Bragi if they didn't know what we're working for. We don't pay particularly well.
I think most of us in the room can...
The hours are shit. You work at weekends.
Yep.
And I don't people do that because they want to have $5 more in their pocket, but they could easily go somewhere else and earn 3 times as much. But they do it because we have a thing, and most of the people, I guess, have the same kind of drive that I do. So we're driven by motivation. Money needs to be there, but it's motivation.
Motivation. And then I'm interested in translating that motivation and the drive for impact into something that your consumer understands, that tickles, that resonates with their emotional need for something. Because it's easy to say, but how do you do it in terms of the packaging, the storytelling, maybe even the pricing, the way you talk about it? I'll leave that.
I mean, where the idea came from was in a normal supermarket, where Eric, our third founder, kind of had, he saw the problems that good goods went to waste, more or less. And at the same time, he saw like his suppliers kind of knocking on his door and saying, hey, I have a problem with these seasonal goods or something that's kind of out of season or something. And so he kind of, instead of kind of buying small volumes of those, he ended up buying really big quantities and placing them out in the store. And the customers in the store really liked this. They liked buying these great deals and kind of kept coming back. And instead of coming in there, I don't know, once a week, they come in once a day just to see what's on sale today. But the problem was, I mean, a few months down the line, he realized I'm not selling my normal goods, just selling the things that are on sale. So we met up and we looked at it and we saw, I mean, and we sat down and said, like, this is a great idea, but it's on the wrong arena. And then we found 3 pillars to found our business on. The first one was the food waste. The second one was the growth of e-commerce, food e-commerce. And the second one was kind of, everybody would like to make a great deal. And everything comes back to that. We started the company just in that spot, and we're still there. I'm still at the warehouse counter picking and packing boxes. I mean, we're still in the warehouse where it all started, more or less. That's not true at all, because that was like 100 square feet. Now it's like 10,000. So it's a big difference. But anyway, we're still there.
You identified the problem, and now you've scaled it.
Yeah, so we don't need to kind of do the storytelling. We are the story. And the fantastic thing about us is that our customers keep telling it. They kind of buy from us, they put everything they buy, and they post it on Instagram and Facebook and so on, and kind of keep on sharing. So in some way or form, we're not doing anything anymore in that way.
I'm sure you are.
Yeah.
But you can't talk about growth or impact without mentioning what type of measurement tools do you have. I mean, both in terms of yourself and identifying that you're on the right track, but also for an organization that's growing and communicating. Nicolas, could you tell us a little about what you're measuring and how that's developed over time?
Well, I'll just close the loop with Carl. I mean, and it might be very disappointing, but you have to be very down to earth when you do business. In our industry, the digital travel, huge players. There are very few players who really take into account the customer needs, and so we were very basic and tried to address and make a tool that is user-friendly and not try to push the products that we want to sell, but try to push the products that the client wants to buy, which is a very different approach.
Very
so
different.
You've got to be customer-centric and not, build the business for yourself. But if you want to build it for yourself, you've first got to satisfy your customers and the suppliers in our industry. And then, sorry, Aurore,
The actual question?
the actual question.
No, I was just interested in what are you measuring?
What we measure.
And how do you translate and how has that changed over time? When it's a small business, you measure something, and then that evolves, and it needs to be communicated to a team, so everyone's moving in the same.
Well, we're very industrial, so obviously sales is something critical for us because that's what our suppliers mostly value and measure. So sales right from the start, obviously that's what fuels the business as well. So we've been measuring sales not on a daily basis, but monitoring almost on a permanent basis. So it's by the minute. So everybody in the company would know by the hour what the actual turnover of
I love that. Not by the day, by the hour. Do you have any good creative tips for us on how to measure and how to incentivize?
To incentivize employees, for example?
Yeah.
Well, our first incentive to employees is the equity stake we give them all. So we
Yes.
don't have, sort of variables. We like to keep things simple. Our tool is simple because our customers, whether it be B2C, the end customer, the tool should be usable by a kid. We also serve the trade, so thousands of travel agencies use our tool. Those guys are pros like us, but the tool is as simple to use as for an end customer or for a kid. And so those guys spend their time on sales and not on technicalities. And so we try to keep everything simple. So we said rather than introduce very complex stuff to incentivize people, well, give out equity stake. That builds loyalty.
I think that's a general lesson and a good message. Keep it simple. And final word from you, Nicolas, before we have to leave the stage. Impact, how have you measured impact and how has that translated into the people that you've hired into the organization?
Well,
and do you have any creative tips for us?
I think impact is not necessarily a KPI that you can put off a web server or something like that. It's about the feedback you get. We had a lady that wrote us back that we had changed her life because she used our product to relieve her tinnitus. We actually hadn't thought about that when she wrote us.
Amazing.
So you have an embedded music player and she can play her relief tones on that and you can hear through at the same time. So you can hear the outside and hear the music. And she used that to regain her life. She had 2 children and she could actually take a job again. She could go out with her friends. For me, that one experience was enough for all the pain and all the suffering from my own side in starting this up. So I made one person happy. I'm very happy myself.
Are you diligent in sharing that in the team?
Yes, we are, but it's not like this thing, oh yeah, we helped someone today, because that's not the point. We talk about these things and we see how can we help, not help, how can we enable more people? And enable is not just like a thing you push onto people, they want to be entertained too. It's not just about like, hey, oh, I help you now. But if it's something that becomes a very integral part of your life, it might become something that helps you too.
Thank you, gentlemen, for sharing. Congratulations to winning. The winner will be announced later this afternoon. France, Germany, Sweden. Thank you guys for listening. It's been a very interesting conversation about growth, creativity, and impact. Thank you.
Thank you.